what is your job role?
I do the marketing for Holes, which ultimately means I have to sell as many of the tickets as possible, hopefully all of them, to the show.
And how did you get into this role?
That's a good question. I started off in a junior position in a theatre production office and did everything from making the tea to photocopying, and gradually I started helping on little bits of the production, and to begin with that was helping out on press nights. So when it's the opening night, helping organise the guest list and the party, and I'd also help with the leaflet. So for every theatre that the shows go to, they'll need a different information on the back. So it'll be the theatre's address, what their ticket prices are, how people get there. And so I started doing that, and I had quite a good eye for that. So I enjoyed doing that and ended up staying at that company and becoming the marketing assistant there, and then moved to a different company and worked my way up.
So why did you choose to do marketing with a theatre?
I'd always loved being in shows and singing and being on stage when I was at school and at university, but I felt like I didn't actually want to do that as a job. That was a bit too scary, the idea of actually performing. So I wanted to carry on being in the theatre environment but not actually being on stage.
When you read Holes, were there any standout moments?
Well, I suppose when you're marketing a show, you've got to think about also something that's eye-catching and might tell a bit of the story. So I like the idea of the orange jumpsuits, the lizard or the gecko, and in fact we've got some lovely photography from the original production with two guys peering down into a hole. So that's what we've ended up using for our poster for this production.
How do you market the show and aim it at the right audience?
Well, for something like Holes, obviously we are aiming for your age group and for schools, but also for families. So we will have a look at people that have been to shows that are have the previous kind of audience and go to them. But there's always some surprises of people that you don't expect as well that aren't the obvious audience. So for example, a few years ago we did a production of Goodnight Mr. Tom, and we thought that was going to be for children, and really it was a lot for families and also OAPs. So we had a whole wealth of people in the audience that we weren't expecting, and it appealed to a much wider audience than we thought it would. So it's hard sometimes. You can market it to one audience and then different people that you expect will actually come along.
What other shows have you marketed?
I do a really big range, so I do Peppa Pig live show for little ones. I've done Teletubbies, I've done Goodnight Mr. Tom, and then coming up we've got Hairspray the musical, which is coming into the West End next summer, so that's exciting. And then we do some quite serious plays. I've got a play called The Night of the Iguana on at the moment, and also we're doing a production of Touching the Void, which is another book and film that's been made into a theatre show. So a real range of plays, musicals and children's.
What top tips would you give us to market our new school show?
I'd say get a great design for your poster or whatever in your leaflet, and that might be some great photography, and pick a few things out, like you said earlier about picking out something from the story that you know that will tell people a little bit about what it's going to be like if it's going to be traditional, is there going to be a big Cinderella dress, is it going to be old-fashioned, or is it going to be a modern production, so you can give people an idea of what they might want to see. You might want to get a quote from one of your local newspapers, or maybe one of the teachers, the drama teacher, saying how great it's going to be. You want to get all your friends and family along, so word of mouth is really important in theatre, so make sure people come along and then they can tell their friends and bring other people along to another performance. And also getting good content, because it's not just about posters and leaflets, for things online, so you might want to get some stuff on social media and create some little videos and little snippets of rehearsals that people can see behind the scenes of what it's going to be like.
When Holes tours around the country, will there be different reactions from different audiences? Usually
it can change from venue to venue, but what's most different is probably the matinee performances to the evenings, because obviously in a lot of the matinee shows there'll be big school groups and people in their groups will be much more excited, people on a school trip, so it might be a bit noisier in the auditorium, and also you'll probably all know the story before you come, whereas the adults often will come to see something and not have read it, or come with their families, and so they're probably a bit more well behaved and quiet in the theatre. But for something like this, it's nice to have a vocal audience. My creative challenge to you is to design your own poster or leaflet for Holes. Have a think about the story, what you think might tell the person a little bit about what it's going to be, what the image should be. Is it a drawing? Is it a photograph? Have you got any quotes that you've read about the book that you could put on there to give an idea of what it should be? And what's going to sell the most tickets to the show?